Hey everyone, Jalen here from TBurningInfinitey, bringing you guys my wizard deck profile. Uh, I haven't been playing this deck in a little bit. I have updated it, of course, post Buddy All Stars. There's not really anything that added since Mikado, since no magic support or anything. Um, I I've had fun with this deck, but I'm getting to a point where Bushy's not giving like almost jack shit to wizards, so I might switch to 72. That is up in the air, but anyway, today I'm just bringing you my wizard deck profile, so don't have to worry about things in the future right now. We have the flag and buddy. The buddy is Drago Wizard Keenus Axia, 2/2/2 with pay gauge, call cost, and when it enters the field, I can deal damage to myself, which I've never done to this day, or I can deal damage to my opponent, which I always do. This is just really great damage, especially against any kind of rush deck, even against some size 3 things. It just helps with the burn then because even though I'm not probably hitting them for real damage, I can just deal burn to them, and there's not many ways size 3 decks really stop burn, or most decks stop burn. Anyway, X is really nice. Yeah, of course, there's gonna be like Fifth Omni or something where he's gonna be like a bad card per se, but I don't care. I still really like this card. Um, this is how I like to play my control wizards. For size zeros, we have two Battle Wizard the Ace, 2/1/2. When this card is discarded, then I can pay a life and draw a card. This card is pretty decent. The only card I discard with in this deck is what's it called? Tempest Wing. So I only play two. I did play three, but then I was like, no, since Tempest Wing is the only thing that ever gets this off, I don't want to be clogged with these things if I don't draw Tempest Wing, because my luck. So I bumped up Kosher to 4 again. Anyway, I still really like this card. I don't usually call it. The only time I usually call it is when like I'm like forcing myself to have a Tempest Wing and like I don't have the life, so I'll just call it, then Kosher or something, or call it on the field like in the center, and then Magical goodbye it, and then Tempest Wing later, something like that. Next up, we have three copies of Ideal Girl Mary Sue. Ideal Girl Mary Sue is a 3/1/3. The ability all with the ability All Mine, where when she enters the field, then I can put a size 2 or less monster uh, on the field to its owner's hand. It's in All Mine only activates once per turn, and it's basically just the magical goodbye on legs. It just really like makes it annoying for my opponent to deal with like Axia plus an Andy and this, because then I have Andy out making Axia free. Then I call the Axia, then I'll call her, bounce Axia, do it again, and it costs me literally no gauge because if I have Andy on field. So it's really nice. The other fun things to do is just size 2s with Soul Guard. You just go, okay, call this, and then make them have to use Soul Guard, and then I can just either not bother with it, or I can just attack it if I feel like it. So she really opens up plays, but like most wizards, pretty meh stats. The one crit is a little annoying, so and plus I already have 4 magic go by, so I'm definitely not trying to try and max out on her. Next up, magical artist Andy. He is 1/2/2, size 1 with the ability. If I would call a wizard from my hand, its call cost is reduced by 1 gauge. Um, I really like him. He makes Axia free. He makes Mary Sue 1 gauge. He makes Iris the Trickster 1 gauge. And if I'm still calling over the size, it makes Tempest Wing 1 gauge. So unless I have two, then it makes Tempest Wing free. But I've never really done that because that's like feeling really minus to use get rid of two Andys unless they're the only thing in my field and they're weak or something like that. They're not. I'm just saying there's not many situations where I have two and then I call Tempest Wing. Anyway, Andy's really great. It makes like I said, it makes it easier to call some of my monsters without having to pay as much gauge. Um, the only bad thing about him is, of course, wizard, so he's really weak. He's 1,000 power. He can't even kill Tetsuya. But I still really like the card. For the buddies, so I'm not going to go into an explanation again. And one copy of the One True God, Third Omni Waterlord Miseria. You guys are used to seeing this in my Demon Lord deck, but I do have a fifth copy, so it's not my buddy in my Demon Lords. I like I already said, I'm never doing that unless I do Ultimate Buddy Miseria. Anyway, back to wizards. It's 625. If you guys somehow don't know by now, 625 double attack, pay 2 gauge, and put up 2 spells from my drop zone into its soul. It has soul guard, and I already said double attack. Lifelink 2, size 2. It's really great card. If it ends up having no soul, I can magical goodbye it and then do it again. This card is just absolutely amazing in Magic World. Like, I think like Missouri is like one of the most solid cards if you throw it in Magic, because you can use it again with magical goodbye. It's really nice power. It's easy to call for just 2 gauge, and the spells are easy because this is Magic World, so really easy to call it. And we have 2 copies of Witch of Mischief, Iris the Trickster. She is 5/2/4, pay 2 gauge, call cost, and when she enters the field, bounce a monster or an item to the owner's hand. So I like to just basically have this in Nandy, call her, and then just troll my opponent, making them have to pay their item cost again. And then sometimes I'll magical goodbye her back, and then if they don't kill the Andy, I'm like, okay, call it again, annoy you again. It's really fun to mess with making people have to continuously pay gauge just to use their cards. And and sometimes if it's really like a costly item, then it makes it really annoying for them to have to re-equip it. Next up, we have 4 copies of Center of the World Mary Sue, pay 2 gauge, call cost 4/2/3. And when it enters the field, I get to search a spell. This card is absolutely great. It lets me search up any spell in my entire deck to my hand. It really helps me dig in for my deck. It's just really great. It's one of Wizards' best cards, and I definitely don't complain about the stats. At least it's doable for at least Magic World based, and it's got decent 2 critical. I can reuse her with, reuse her with Magical Goodbye, with Ideal Girl, ironically, combo piece if I have enough gauge, where I can just call this for 2 gauge, then call Ideal Girl, call this back. It would be just really great. I mean, I do that play a couple of times, but I don't always have it, but it's still really cool when I get to get it off. Then we have 4 copies of Magical Secretary Genjiro Saki, 4/2/2, size 2, with the ability reduce the cast cost of all my Magic World spells by 1 gauge. It makes Nice Ones free. It makes Grandfather Clock 1 gauge. It makes Chillax free. It's a lot of fun I can do with this card. It's really great to always have this. I would have said it's one of Wizards' better cards, but even 72 has an exact clone of this, so it's not like it's only to Wizards. Next up, we have probably one of my favorite Wizards just because of how Wizards play and how annoying it is for them to deal size 3s. Probably one of my favorite Wizards. Drago Wizard Tempest Wing. Tempest Wing is 7/6, size 3, pay 2 gauge, call cost, and the ability discard a wizard. If I do, I can send a monster on either player's field to the gauge. It's really annoying because on the physical card it doesn't say either player, it says my. So it's really annoying because the errata is the one where you could see the true wording on Tempest Wing. The errata is been there ever since it came out, but I'm just saying, like, there are still times where I go to tournaments and like people still go like, oh no, that card doesn't say either side. It's like and then I have to pull it up. Then on to spells, we have 1 copy of 100 Demon Sorcery No Brainer. I would be playing 2, but I have 1. Fuck my life. Anyway, this is an amazing card. Choose a monster on my field because it's completely free. And for the turn, if that monster attacks any monster, it removes the soul from it, then it destroys it. So if I give it to something like hilariously like Mazaria, then it's like, oh look, double attack, so probably instantly kill most size 3s with the double attack because of this. I do want another copy. I need to find another copy. I just need it. This card is so good. It's so ridiculous in Magic. And then especially, I don't feel so bad even having 1 right now because Mary Sue, so I can search it. So yay. Next up, we have 2 copies of Great Spell, My Grandfather Clock. Grandfather Clock, if you don't see Superstar play it every single time, you need 2 gauge, and you can only cast it when you have 6 or more different wizard attributes in your drop zone, and then you shuffle all the cards from your drop zone back into the deck, and then you get another turn when you end your turn. And The whole thing with Grandfather Clock is it's mid to late game, and I can usually search it with Mary Sue. Gendro makes it easy, even easier to cast if I don't exactly always have the gauge for it. The one great thing is it's a wizard attribute itself, so sometimes I will unfortunately open two of them. So I just go, okay, charge, then later I'll pay the gauge, and this is a wizard, so it will help set up for the one I kept in my hand. Um, it's a really nice card, but you need 6 or more different wizards, so it's kind of annoying early game if you don't get the right gauge or you're just not drawing a lot of monsters. Next up, we have 2 copies of Never Say Never. I might want to bump this up to 3, but I'll see what happens in the near future. Anyway, it's just basically gain 2 gauge, and if I have no cards if I have no cards in hand when I cast it, not only do I gain the 2 gauge, I gain 2 cards. I draw 2 cards. So basically, out of a top deck situation, this is the amazing card. The main thing is you combo with Grandfather Clock, because sometimes when it's in late game, then you're gonna have probably no cards in hand. You're gonna cast this, be like, okay, now I gotta try and get my resources back. And then she's like, oh, I'm just gonna cast this Never Say, get the gauge that I basically paid for this, and then get 2 cards. So yes, this is an amazing card with Grandfather Clock. I might bump it up to 3 just because sometimes I do just use it for the gauge excel early on. And then we have 2 copies of Chillax. Chillax is just basically reduce pay 1 gauge cast cost free with Gendro Saki. Yay. Reduce the damage to 0 and I gain a life. So it's really great to deal with some people who like to play impacts that are reducible. Definitely helps with burn damage, close center, like people try to link with penetrate and I just go and they expect magical goodbye and then I just go Chillax and they're like crap. As I said earlier in the profile, I played 4 kosher. Before I played 3, and then getting down to the nitty and gritty, I did want to bump it up to 4. I don't usually get clogged with it anymore like I used to. Maybe it's just my luck has finally changed. Yeah, never mind. It's just more, I feel more comfortable with this rather than the ace. So, anyway, if I have 2 more wizards, I can gain a gauge and draw, and I can only cast 1 kosher per turn. So in shield, your basic nullifier. If it's not a link attack, you can it's on your opponent's turn. Blah, block the attack. Next up we have 4 Nice One. Of course, staple in Magic World. Always play Nice One. Pay 1 gauge, draw 2 cards. You can only cast 1 Nice One per turn. Nice One is just simply one of Magic World's best spells, and that's it. And on par with being one of probably Magic World's best spells, we have 4 copies of Magical Goodbye. This is such an incredibly versatile card. I can use it to basically stop penetrate plays. I can use it to stop like really aggressive fields and bounce something that's really annoying in my opponent's field. Use it for like semi counter removal or annoy my opponent when something costs like a lot of gauge that's size 2 or less, and then I bounce it to their hand. Like, this card is incredibly versatile. If I had to go through every single scenario where this card's good, then you'd be sitting here for hours. And then the last card in the deck, we have 2 copies of New Era Great Spell, The Creation. The Creation is a wizard. It's attribute. That's kind of the main thing about it. I'm not going to go over the rest of the attributes. It's a set impact, pay 1 gauge, and every time not every time. When I cast the effect, when I use an effect that lets me draw a card, it lets me gain a gauge and gain a life, and it only activates once per turn. And I can only set 1 of these, so that's the reason for 2, because 3 would be cloggy, because then, yes, I can discard. It is a wizard, so I can discard it for Temper Swing, but still, I would rather not draw multiple of these. And it's a really great card. It lets me gain more life. It lets me gain more gauge back. It makes this with Gendro Saki and Nice One is just the most crazy setup of all time. Anyway, that is the deck for you guys. Hope you guys like this video. Subscribe to TeamBurningInfinitey for more BuddyFight content. I was planning to show my sideboard, but I would make this video way too long for you guys, and I don't want to do that to you. Anyway, see you guys later. Joe from TeamBurningInfinitey going out.